Before Beatlemania became a global headline, it existed quietly, as a reaction people didn't yet have a name for. It was confusion turning into excitement, excitement turning into obsession. It didn't arrive as a cultural strategy. It emerged through songs that seemed harmless at first, but slowly began to provoke something louder, more emotional, and eventually uncontrollable. Beatlemania wasn't born in one moment. It was built, song by song. These are the 4 songs that sparked the Beatlemania phenomenon. Number 4, Love Me Do. When recognition began.
Love me do. You know I love you.
Love Me Do did not sound like the beginning of a cultural revolution. It was simple, repetitive, almost shy in its delivery. But that simplicity made it feel unusually close. The harmonica line wasn't flashy, it was friendly. The vocals didn't dominate, they invited. For young listeners in Britain in 1962, the song didn't feel like it came from above. It felt like it came from next door. John and Paul didn't sing at their audience. They sounded like they were part of it. That intimacy created something subtle but powerful: recognition. Crowds weren't screaming yet, but they were paying attention. Love Me Do made the Beatles feel accessible, human, and emotionally present. It planted the idea that this band wasn't distant or untouchable, they were relatable. And that sense of closeness would later fuel something far louder. Beatlemania didn't begin with hysteria. It began with identification. Number 3, Please Please Me, when excitement turned physical. If Love Me Do introduced the Beatles, Please Please Me accelerated everything. The tempo was faster, the vocals more urgent, and the energy impossible to ignore. The song felt restless, like it couldn't sit still. Audiences responded instinctively. Feet moved, voices rose, reactions became physical. This was no longer passive listening. The song demanded release. When the Beatles performed it live, the reaction intensified, not because the song was aggressive, but because it felt charged. There was tension in the harmonies, desperation in the phrasing, and joy in the delivery. Producer George Martin later acknowledged that this was the record where he realized something unusual was happening. The band wasn't just improving, they were provoking emotion faster than venues could handle. With Please Please Me, Beatlemania began to show its teeth. Number 2, She Loves You. When the crowd took control.
She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you, yeah.
She Loves You didn't just escalate Beatlemania, it redefined it. From the first, yeah, 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 the song felt like a collective shout rather than a performance. It invited participation, repetition, and surrender. What made the song especially powerful was its emotional perspective. Instead of singing directly to a romantic interest, the narrator reassures someone else. That shift created empathy rather than fantasy. Listeners didn't just imagine being loved, they felt understood. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Screaming became constant, concerts became chaotic, control became secondary. She Loves You turned audiences into active participants. The song no longer belonged only to the band, it belonged to the crowd. Beatlemania had crossed from enthusiasm into possession. From this point on, the Beatles were no longer in charge of the noise. Number 1, I Want to Hold Your Hand. When it became unstoppable.
Hold your hand. I wanna hold your hand.
By the time I Want to Hold Your Hand was released, Beatlemania already existed in Britain. But this song carried it beyond borders. It was polished without being distant, confident without losing urgency. The rhythm felt communal, the melody felt inevitable, the emotion felt uncomplicated. When American audiences heard it, they reacted exactly as British fans had, only louder. The Beatles' appearance on The Ed Sullivan Show transformed excitement into spectacle. The screaming drowned out the music. The phenomenon could no longer be dismissed as local hysteria. Beatlemania had become global. Ironically, the very song that cemented their success also foreshadowed the problem to come. The band could no longer hear themselves play. Performance was being swallowed by reaction. What united these songs was not complexity, rebellion, or technical brilliance. It was emotional availability. They were short, direct, and unguarded. John and Paul wrote from inside youth, not about it. Beatlemania was not irrational. It was amplified connection. Each song pushed listeners closer until closeness turned into obsession. Beatlemania was never planned. It was provoked by melodies that felt personal, by voices that sounded familiar, by songs that gave permission to feel without restraint. And once that door opened, the world rushed in, screaming,